Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tellor School. In this exercise, we will be going over how to use the Tellor Query ID builder. Now, this is a specific tool that we built for the Tellor ecosystem. If you're not familiar with what a query ID is, this video might be a little advanced for you, and you might still need to do the first step, which is implementing Tellor into your Solidity code. I'll throw a link to where you can get that started in the docs below. But let's go ahead and dive into the Query ID builder. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Now, not a lot going on here quite yet. We just wanted to keep it very simple, but we have our basic description of what a query ID is, the unique identifier of a query type for data that's requested, reported, and retrieved by Tellor oracles. So again, this is going to be the unique identifier for, let's say, the Ethereum USD price, so that when you are integrating it into your code and you are requesting this data, the reporters know exactly which type of data you're looking for and can report on it accurately. Now, one key nuance I want to make very clear here is that we're simply just building the question and producing an ID for it. This ID will work in tandem with the Tellor data specs GitHub repo, which the reporters are going to be referencing for what kind of answer this question is asking for. So if you're not going to be using one of the already established data specs in the Tellor GitHub, or if you have a brand new question that you want to be asking the Tellor ecosystem, I'll throw a link in the description below for where you can get started on that. But I just wanted to preface this with a little context, as I will be going back and forth between the query builder and the Tellor data specs repo. But going back to the tool, we're just going to go ahead and click here to get started. And right now we have two avenues that you can go down. Obviously, spot price is a more popular request in the DeFi ecosystem, so we just wanted to give an easy access user experience for those users. And really all that needs to happen here is you're going to have your ticker symbol. Make sure they're all lowercase, as an uppercase will change the query ID entirely. And this is just what's been standardized for the reporter network. So we already have a kind of a suggested field here, but I'm going to go ahead and put the BTC USD price, and then we're just going to hit generate ID. And what you'll see here is a descriptor, which you're not going to necessarily need for your code, but it is good for record keeping purposes. The query data, which is going to hold all of that price data. And then the query ID, which is the hashed version of this query data. So you can have a unique and uniform ID that the reporters can easily read and pull the right data. Also, you'll see the clipboards here. These are going to be your copy and paste easy access buttons here. You can just simply click it and it'll put that entire ID in your copy function ready to be pasted into your code. Next, let's go to the custom route, as it has a little bit more nuance to it. The first field here will be designating the query type. As you'll see here on the spot price example, spot price type has already been designated, as we know that you're already in that realm, so you'll just need to fill in the ticker symbols. But with custom type data, basically anything outside of a spot price, we're going to need to parse them out in different types, as there's going to be a lot more information to digest so that the reporters can know exactly what they need to be reporting on. So for this example, I'm actually going to use the gas price oracle, as we've already done it, and it's something we can verify with some code. And it's also a very good example of what kind of things we're looking for when you're generating a query ID for your custom data. So just quickly hopping over to the GitHub, I'm going to go to the list of available data types. I'm going to find the gas price oracle, and then we'll take a look at what we have going on here. So obviously we have the type name already designated here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and put it in our type name. So this is the first argument that we will be designating. So now that we've designated the query type name, we just need to fill out the arguments that make up this query type so the reporters know exactly what they need to be pulling. There's going to be two fields here. One is the type of data that we're going to be requesting. Is it an address? Is it a UINT256? And then the actual argument value. So if we go back to our specs here, the first parameter / argument that we're going to be needing is the chain ID. As we all know, different chains have different gas prices, so we will need to designate firstly which chain the reporters need to report the gas price on. So if we go here, the description is the unique ID of the EVM chain, and the value type is UINT256. So just going back to the builder here, we'll select UINT256, and then we'll use the same as the example here, Rinkeby, which is 4. Now, once we fill this first argument in, you will see we have two selections here. We can either add another argument, or we can generate the query ID with the inputs that we have as is. Going back to a reference point on the data specs repo, we will see there are two arguments / parameters that we need to use here. So we're going to add argument. And this is just going to bring down another line to address the same fields that we just did for the chain ID. So if we go to the data specs, that we're going to be pulling the timestamp, which is the Unix timestamp to calculate on-chain gas price at. And the value type will again be UN256. So we'll go ahead and just select UN256 again here. And for this, we're going to go to this Epoch Converter site, and it's actually just going to give us the current timestamp. So we'll just go ahead and take this right now and plop that into the argument value. So now we have completed as many arguments as are necessary for this specific data spec. Obviously, you can continue to add more if you like, but for this specific instance, we only need the two. I can even go ahead and delete these last two that I just added, and we can go ahead and generate the ID. So you'll see here we have the same breakout as we did for the spot price, the query descriptor, the query data, and then the query ID hash itself. And then once you have your query ID, the next step will be to fund your feed using the AutoPay smart contract, which we will go over in another Tellor School video. All right, and there you have it. So hopefully this tool is useful for you as you're building on Tellor. But that's going to do it for this video, and we will see you on the next Tellor School. Thanks for watching.